Okay. Good morning. I'm Susan Cousino. This is the office hour for Oregon State University PDC Pro Summer 2025, June 23rd to December 14th. This is call number 8, and the next lesson is lesson 8, local plant survey and plant system design, due next Monday, November 3rd at 9 a.m. Pacific. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up for conversation and questions, and then once we've done questions, then I'm going to record a short tutorial. I may be playing with this format a little bit over time, so feel free to drop a comment if you're watching the replay. Let me know whether you'd like to start with the tutorial and then questions, which is normally what I would do, but I didn't get started early enough today. So I'm going to try that next time. Okay, I can see we've got Vincent here, so I'm going to let Vincent in. Brain waiting room. Hello, Vincent. Hello. I know we've got a mic on. Yeah, volume up. Let me know if you can hear me. You can just drop in the chat. That's fine. Hopefully. Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to go through a quick tutorial of the of lesson 8, and then if we've got questions, we'll see if anybody else shows up. Usually Karen's been here, so I'll give her a few minutes. I'll just launch into the tutorial because she said that was fine last time. Okay, I'm going to do a screen share with OSU. Okay, here we go. All right, we're going to bring this over here. Oh boy. The laptop's being a little slow this morning. All right, okay, here we go. So this lesson is going to start with your local plant survey. So here we go. All right. So the grades are distributed across the local plant survey, which is 4 points, and then the plant system design, 14 points for a total of 18 points. There's plenty of details and wormholes to get lost in here. It can be a really fun assignment. I think for a lot of students, it can also be a little bit challenging because there's so much different stuff to go diving into. It's also your first bona fide design assignment in the course. So that's kind of exciting. Now is where you start to pull it all together. All right, so the first slide is a description of your medicinal plants, descriptions and uses. It's pretty straightforward, just fill in the template, much like previous inventory slides, like the microclimate, the zones, include some photos. Use clear graphics and images here, and then be sure to cite your sources if relevant. That's not new. You'll probably need to cross-reference a variety of sources here. Google Scholar might be more helpful than random searches. If you have a local botany department, especially an ethnobotany department, they can probably help you out with specific information for your area. Traditional seasonal food on the next slide is laid out a little bit differently. So just choose 2 plants. Try to choose different ones for each season. So you should have 8 different plants in total for your area. Even fairly low biodiverse locations should be able to find this. They don't necessarily need to be on your site. You can do something like found or not found on your site if you do or don't have a plant. Like especially a lot of urban and suburban sites may not have a lot of those plants available, but it's still nice to know what you could incorporate into design. So include those if they're local. That also helps give you an idea of like what the diversity of sources that you have to choose from. And then the next 2 slides, one is nurseries, the other is farms. This is basically, it's a network survey of just getting to know what local sources you have for plant material, and then farms that you might have access to, even just for networking and relationship building, but also you might have access to resources, ideas, knowledge for how, for how they're practicing growing whatever they're growing. Many students in rural areas might struggle to find good options, so go as far out as you need to, and that is also important information. If you need to go 40 miles or 40 kilometers or 60 kilometers to get to your nearest organic farm, that's informative. That might be giving you a good idea of that there might actually be a market available in your area, or that you might have to, if you're starting out with, say, something with a CSA or a garden operation, you might want to be focusing on more conventional vegetables rather than getting into some niche markets, because that might not be available to you yet. So just keep that in mind. That's fine if you have to go quite far. When you're searching for permaculture or for nurseries and farms, don't generally you can start off using the word permaculture just to see if anything comes up. Often it won't. A lot of times the permaculture resources that are available are community gardens, educational sites, independent consultants and contractors. You're probably going to do better searching for CSAs, organic farms, local, sustainable, using kind of those bigger, less niche buzzwords. You're going to have probably more luck finding what you're looking for. A lot of them are probably using principles or practices that are going to be aligned with or very close to, even completely basically using a permaculture type design or system, but they're not necessarily using the word. So just keep that in mind when you're looking for places. Okay. Plant system design. Oh, I've got two. Yeah. So this is where you actually start getting into your design, the design portion of the course. It's going to start coming together, all the information that you've been bringing in throughout the previous lessons. The first slide is just going to be your existing conditions-based map. So no dreaming, no imagining what's going to go where. This is exactly what it looks like, what you're starting with. Be clear on no more than 3 goals. 2 well-defined is better than 3. You can see the third option here, the third text box is if you need it. I really recommend deleting it and just building out those 2 goals really well. It'll help you give you some easier, more accessible wins to get a couple of really clearly articulated goals that are measurable and timely, that you can knock out even within the first couple of months, and then have some success and start building from there, rather than having your whole big vision spanned out across 3 big goals, which is what I tend to see when people really want to expand. When they've got a big vision for their site, they want to start including all of those goals, and it gets overwhelming very quickly. So I would really start out with 2 well-articulated ones first. For most properties, you're going to select a high-use area or priority development. Usually it's going to be zone 1 or 2 almost exclusively. So you're going to go back to your lesson 4 and just review if that's kind of wandered away from your memory. Review what your zone 1 and 2 look like. For now, you're just going to focus on a small area to design an interrelated plant system. Lessons 9 and 10, you're going to be doing more full-fledged design work with zone 1 and then the complete concept design for the whole system. You can look to others' examples. This is if you haven't been doing this already, really good time to start practicing that. Look at student examples, not only the ones that are included in the template, but go follow the links in the assignment information on the discussion, and go specifically looking up other students' examples from your area, from systems that are like yours. So if you're in a suburban area or if you're in a rural area, start trying to find ones that are going to give you something that weren't necessarily included in the template, because there are lots more to choose from than just the few that are included here. Okay, note that the scale bar and map information elements are really important here. They count for actual points. Don't skip over them. If you're copying them from a previous slide, make sure you haven't overlooked anything. Sometimes area, dimensions, coordinates get dropped out. Sometimes the scale changes because the size of the images change. So make sure that all of that is still accurate, especially students, if you've had to go back and review some of my suggestions or edits, or no, pardon me, not edits, but corrections, then you'll want to go back and make sure that your scale and everything is accurate. And by this point, that should be second nature, that if you're including some sort of a map-like image, that all that information is going to be provided. Okay. Your cross-section, this is your plant system design. Here's your existing conditions with your goals. I didn't flip forward to the proposed plan. Your proposed plan is going to be your plant system design slide. These you can fill in, replace these images with the types of plants that you want, different elements. That might be rainwater harvesting tank or a rain garden. Might be a new hose spigot, could be a compost bin, anything like that that you want to include there. Put your notes in on the sidebar. Your plant legend is going to be really important. Now, one thing that I actually have forgotten to mention a lot of times, when you're abbreviating your plant names, standard convention is to use the first two letters of the genus and the first two letters of the species name. So I'm grabbing out of my memory here, for northern spotted owl, Strix occidentalis, it's going to be STOC. So you want to use those 4 letters, 4 caps, and then that's a really quick and easy way. There's almost never overlap. There's a few plants, often in the same genus, that will overlap. You can't, of course, you can't do varieties quite as easily. You can always add like a lowercase string, like a three-letter string afterwards if you want to indicate a specific variety. But using those 4 letters is a really quick and easy way to use your space effectively, but be specific about what species it is without having to come up with your own acronyms. Like a peach, just using, say, like PE, that's going to overlap with, say, a pear, or there's that sort of example. You want to minimize the amount of overlap, and so using those 4 letters is a well-known convention in landscape design for doing that. Okay, in plant research as well, we do it for doing assessments and stuff. So, okay, just a word on that. And then, okay, so next you're going to be doing another cross-section. This is probably going to be different than the property cross-section that you did earlier. This is going to be a lot smaller. So it's just going to be the specific plant system that you're designing in for this assignment. So then put in your plan view of the proposed plant system design with the chosen section down in the left-hand corner. Include your legend. Make sure to remove any elements if you're copying it forward from a previous slide. Make sure to remove any elements that aren't shown there. This is going to be really relevant here because a lot of things are going to get dropped off of that image because you're focusing on a smaller area. Make sure if you've changed the scale of that to update your scale bar to ensure that that's still accurate. Okay, and then you're going to want to include the summer and winter solar angles so that you can consider solar aspects of your design, like where shade's going to be cast, what's going to be particularly sunny or overexposed. All right, plant species matrix. These are pretty familiar to you by now, I'm sure. Lots of information to be included here. So just look carefully at all of these columns. If you don't have an account with Permaculture Plant Data or the Natural Capital database, so it's permacultureplantdata.com, that is Dan Halsey and Paula Westmoreland's online plant database. Let me know if you're having, especially if you're having trouble finding any of these metrics for different plants. I can search plants for you because I've only got a few students in this cohort. I can offer this. It might not cover all the species, but it will provide some of those details for most plants, including some that are outside the US. So that database used to be included as part of the PDC tuition. It is not anymore. It's $50 a year. So I pay for it as part of my business. So if you want me to search a few plants for you, maybe like max out 5 to 10, I can pull that up in a spreadsheet for you. And then you can have that information so that you've got it handy there, because sometimes that can be hard to piecemeal from a lot of different sources, if it's even available. Make sure that you're following your conventions for scientific names. For example, the scientific name is going to be italicized, only the genus is capitalized. So just make sure that you've got those details. Are nice to stay specific, and that you're consistent with your font sizes and font types and everything. This can get quite cluttered if you start mixing things up. All right. Well, okay. And then your last design slide, you're going to be talking about interrelationship and management. Your element interrelationship. How does each of your plants relate to each other? These can be multiple different things. Some of you might have like a deep taprooting species that helps break up the soil to allow shallower rooted, more native, like say bunch grasses, some wildflowers in. You might be including two different pollinators or a spread of pollinators across the season. So something that flowers very early in the spring, like bee balm, and then goldenrod that flowers very late in the season, so that you've got a full fluorescent season for extending pollination. The next paragraph there gives an example of having two different pollinator support plants that flower at the same time so that they can be cross-pollinated. That's another example. And then you can mention any future, even like 5 to 10 year goals for your management plans. So this might be especially true for water and irrigation. Often we see like moving from hand watering to install like a drip irrigation system or rainwater harvesting by 2027, something like that. So that's where you can include all of that. Talk about how you've built management into your design, like ways that you're going to use your pruning, your chipped prunings or something like that, compost, all of that. Then the rest is you've all very familiar, self-explanatory, your SWOT analysis, your what have you learned about your site through this assignment. This might be a really fun one to go through. And then tasks you've got based on the assignment. Any questions for me? And then that's it. Okay, so I'm going to pause the little tutorial here and go back to our screen. And let's bring Vincent forward here. All right, I'm going to stop my share. Okay, Vince. Hi, how are you? You can hear me. I can't hear you. Do you have any questions? Let me see. Check in the WhatsApp group. No. Okay, drop me a chat, Vince, if you have any questions, because my mic still isn't working. You do have a few questions. Okay, can you drop those questions into the chat? I'll read them out so they get, so that, anybody that can't see the chat knows, and then I'll go through those. My mic's, that's unfortunate. We can work with it though. Okay, scale bar. I had a question on the scale bar. Fire away. Not my strong point. Scale bars are not intuitive for me. I don't know why. Okay. Okay, I noticed on the scale bar, it has the scale on the bar, but under it has the ratio. Yes. In my assignments, I've been treating the scale, the ratio, and the bar with just easy demarcations. Yes, which is fine. On a previous assignment, I had a few points deducted for it. Okay, do you want me to bring your assignment up? All right. I believe I do have. Okay, Vince, can you drop a link to your assignment? I can navigate there. I just don't know how quickly I'll get there. Awesome. Okay. Open and better. Okay, can you see this? There we go. Yes, okay, that's great. Oh boy, this is still going to be tiny though. Let's see if I can close the agenda. And just close the chat. Give myself a little more room. Can't. Okay, here we go. Do you recall? You don't recall what assignment it was? Do you? I'm trying to go back to where you would have a map. This isn't. Okay, here we go. I thought it was microclimates. Okay, so that makes sense. So one. Oh, slide 46. Okay, so that's the same slide that you've been using previously. So what that's saying is that one foot of map would be equal to 17 feet on the ground. Oh, I see. No. So the scale is in consistent units. Yeah, correct. The full, yes. So the full bar would be 170 feet. And unfortunately, this is something that sometimes I don't catch. I don't see until later on because early, I'm kind of focused on so many different things in the base map that sometimes I miss it later on. So I apologize. But yes, that should be, yes, if your units are feet, then 1 to 170 feet. Yeah. So the whole bar. So what is the scale ratio for? So, so the scale ratio tells you how many units on the map is going to equal to so the scale ratio. Okay, so he's saying I think I'm wondering how to apply it if the whole bar should be 1 to 170. Why do we need the scale ratio? No, the whole boy. I think I need to stop recording so that I can talk through this. Okay. Just a second. Okay, so the scale bar represents the scale ratio. So a scale ratio of 1 to 100 would mean that 1 unit on the drawing represents 100 units in real life. So like 1 inch on the map would represent 100 inches. So if if we're talking feet, okay, I'm trying to get an example here for you. Oh. Okay. I'm just looking for a better example. I find this very challenging to talk through. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little screen share here. No, you go ahead and you go ahead and drop and join again. Yeah, come back in. That's fine.